Hi, fourth graders in Mrs. Greer's class. I'm absent today, but I wanted to help you with your critical thinking questions, part 2. And so you'll need your reading textbook so we can answer the final 2 questions. You'll find this in Mrs. Greer's Google Classroom where it says Critical Thinking Questions, part 2 under December 10th. All right, so it says reread page 294. What can you infer about Theodore Roosevelt's personality from his actions with his children? Provide information from the text to support your answer. So in this question, I'm looking for Theodore Roosevelt and how he interacts with his children. So you'll need to go to your story and make sure you're on page 294. And so this is page 294 here. I know you can't see it because the black box is there, but this is page 294, and this is a picture of Theodore Roosevelt. And already I can see that he likes to play with toys, but let's see what the text says. All right, I'm going to skip down until I find Theodore Roosevelt. So this is the paragraph right here because it says Theodore Roosevelt that I really want to read to find the answer. And so let's read this paragraph and figure out how Theodore Roosevelt liked to play with his children. Though the Constitution says you'll have to wait until you're 35, young, old, and in between have become president, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt was 42. At 42 was the youngest. He had pillow fights with his children and played football on the White House lawn. You must always remember that the president is about 6, a friend said. Ronald Reagan was the oldest. When he first ran for president, he was 69. He joked that it was the 30th anniversary of his 39th birthday. All right, and so right here, those sentences that I underlined, I just found how President Theodore Roosevelt liked to play with his children. He had pillow fights with them, and he played football on the White House lawn. So I'm going to go back to my question, and it says, let me make a copy of this. That way, when I type on it, we won't be giving the answers to every student. All right. What can you infer about Theodore Roosevelt's personality from his actions with his children? Theodore, and I'm going to restate the question, Roosevelt's actions with his children let me know that he is playful. He had pillow fights and played football on the White House lawn with his children. And so I got that answer exactly from the story. And let me make that bigger for you. He was very playful. He was like a big kid himself. He still liked to have pillow fights and play football on the White House lawn with his children. So your job now would either to be pause the video so you could type this in or write it down on a piece of paper or take a picture, but we're going to move on to the next question. The very final question says, look back and write. Look back on page 293. What do you think are the most important qualities a president should have and why? And so I'll need to go back to my story to page 293. And let me erase all this. And you should be in your reading textbook on page 293, and that's right in the beginning of the story. And so we're trying to figure out what are some qualities a president should have. All right, so if I start reading, it says, this is page 293 here. If I scroll down, I believe you can see 293, and I can see William Taft holding up a head of cabbage. One of the bad things about being president is that the president always has to be dressed up. William McKinley wore a frock coat, vest, pinstripe trousers, stiff white shirt, black satin tie, gloves, a top hat, and a red carnation in his buttonhole every day. The president has to be polite to everyone. The president can't go anywhere alone. And the president has lots of homework. People get mad at the president. Someone once threw a cabbage at William Howard Taft. That didn't bother Taft. He quipped, I see that one of my adversaries has lost his head. Lots of people want to be president. If you want to be president, it might help if your name is James. 6 presidents were named James. President Carter liked to be called Jimmy. 4 Johns, 4 Williams. President Clinton liked to be called Bill. 3 Georges, 2 Andrews, and 2 Franklins all became president. And so when I look back at my question, it says, what do you think are the most important qualities a president should have? I learned in my story that the president needs to be polite. He needs to be able to be okay with not going anywhere alone. And he has to be a good student because he always has a lot of homework. All right, so let's write that in our text box. I think the most important qualities a president should have is he or she, since we have a woman vice president now, Kamala Harris, he or she should always be polite. President, and I'm using a capital because a president is a proper noun, also has to be okay with never going anywhere alone. The president, capital again, also must be a good student because there is a lot of homework. All right, so this is quite a long answer, but you can figure this out. All right, and so your job now will be to type all of this in and then pause the video if you need to, or you can write it down on paper and then type it in. But I hope this helps. I will see you Friday.